Hello, boys and girls, and good afternoon. It's time for me to share another story with you guys, and today you're going to get to meet two of my pets. So the first one is Mocha Nut. Say hi, Mocha Nut. Mocha Nut. Say hi. Mocha Nut has been in our family for a very long time. She was the first pet that we got when we moved to Texas in 2005. We got her maybe a year or two later as a kitten. So she's been with us for a very long time. And she is about 12 years old now. And she is considered a grandma kitty. But she is just as youthful and spry as when we first got her. And she is very good company. So she'll be in my room walking around. At some point, she might even climb on top of there and start sniffing around at the camera. But I'm hoping that she will not do that while I'm reading the story. But yeah, you don't want me to touch your paw? Huh? No. No. What about this paw? The left paw is a definite no-no. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Mwah. Get out of here, kitty, kitty, meow, meow. I've got one other pet I'm going to introduce you to. If you've noticed, I've got this terrarium behind me, and a terrarium is where lizards are kept at when they're in people's homes. Most terrariums are made out of glass. This one happens to be made out of a mesh wire. And I've got a cool little guy in here that is a desert animal. So he doesn't need to have a glass enclosure to keep the humidity in. All I've got to do is spray him a couple times and he is good to go. But he is called a frilled dragon. So if you guys have seen the newer Jurassic Park video, when they're at the new park on the island, there is a scene at near the end of the movie, and it's a holograph, but there's a dinosaur at the end of the movie that when it gets worked up, it frills out, and its little membrane or tissue it has on the side of its face kind of like opens up like this, and it starts flapping, and it's a display of aggression, like don't bother me. So I have a small version of that prehistoric dinosaur, and it's called a frilled dragon. So I'm going to try to come in here and see if he will let me pick him up. Uh-oh. One thing I don't want to do. Uh-oh. He got away. One thing I don't want to do is stress him out, which he is a little bit right now. So if you notice, right now his head is flat. But when they get upset or nervous, uh-oh, he's trying to get away. It's okay. Now what he's doing right now, he's frilling out. I'm going to put him back soon because it's a sign that he's stressed out. Yeah, I know. It's okay. It's okay. So he's new. We've only had him for about a week. So he'll allow me to handle him a little bit. Oh, he got down again. But I'm freaking him out right now, and I don't want to keep freaking him out. So I'm going to put him away. But I just wanted you to get to meet my little friend here. They think he's a boy, which will be really cool because when they get to be adult size, he'll be a really, really good size. I'm thinking about calling him, Frilly the Kid after Billy the Kid. But I'm going to put him back now because I don't want him all freaked out. He's not too bad right now because his frill isn't coming out. But as he kind of gets used to being in the house, he'll be a lot more agreeable. So I'm going to put him back in here before he gets away. Okay. So anyways, guys, on Fridays, I'm going to start reading through our book that we started in school called Don't Feed the Geckos, the Carver Chronicles. And for those of you that are in my class that are watching, you'll remember this book. And for those of you that are watching with me the first time, you will enjoy it. It's actually about a young boy that's in a third grade classroom for the third graders watching. And then for everyone else out there, it's a brother, it's a sister, it's his family. You guys will be able to connect and form some self-to-text connections. But this isn't for homework. This is just for me to read and for you to enjoy. Again, don't feed the geckos. I'm starting over from chapter 1. Carlos's cousin Bernardo is coming. It's after school and Carlos sits down at the table to eat his toaster tart and eavesdrop on his mother and Tia Lupe's telephone conversation. His mother and Tia Lupe are always on the phone, checking with each other about everything, at least once or twice a day. His father doesn't even answer the phone anymore because he knows it's probably Tia Lupe. Carlos overhears that his cousin Bernardo is coming to stay with them all the way from Texas because Bernardo's mom, Tia Emilia, is having a rough time and needs to get a fresh start somewhere else. She's moving to their town and sending Bernardo ahead. Carlos stops chewing to listen better. Now it sounds as if his mother and Tia Lupe are gossiping about Tia Emilia. She's always having problems. She doesn't make the right choices. She needs to manage her life better and blah, blah, blah. Boring grown-up stuff. But it does make him think about his cousin and the fact that he's coming tomorrow. His mother finally gets off the phone and comes to sit across from him. She puts on her serious face. Now listen here, Carlos. Do you remember your cousin Bernardo? A little bit. Bernardo was kind of chubby and had a mop of dark curly hair. Carlos went with Mommy and Poppy to Texas, San Antonio, when he was almost 6 and his sister, Issy, short for Isabella, had just turned 3. It was Bernardo's birthday. Carlos turned 6 a few months after him. Carlos remembers sitting on a porch, eating a creamsicle with Bernardo before his birthday party. Oh, and running through the sprinklers. He remembers Bernardo cried because he wanted 2 pieces of birthday cake on his plate at once. He didn't want to wait until he finished what he had first. He just sat there crying and looking stupid with a mouthful of chewed up cake. And Carlos remembers seeing a photograph of Bernardo's dad in some kind of uniform, like in army uniform. Bernardo and Tia Emilia are moving here. Your tia wants him making the change in schools and settled as soon as possible. I'm picking him up tomorrow, so I just want to give you a heads up. Maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe Bernardo will be cool and it'll be awesome to have another guy in the house, kind of like a brother. They'll be able to do things together. Mommy doesn't let Carlos go to the park by himself or the store, or anywhere actually. But with his cousin Bernardo here, he'll have an automatic buddy to go places with. Yeah, Carlos says to himself. Bernardo. What's he like? Carlos asks. How am I supposed to know? Mommy says, sounding a little irritated. All I know is you better make your cousin feel at home. Make him feel welcome. That's important to Mommy. Carlos knows. Family. And sticking together and helping each other out. Now Mommy is giving him a list of labels. Oh, I lost my place. Oh, now Mommy is giving him a list that she's counting out on her fingers, which shows she means business. She still has the serious face where she stares at Carlos, looking at him closely. His little sister comes into the room and stands next to Mommy. She's wearing her tiara because she wants to be a queen when she grows up. It's annoying. Ever since Mommy told her she was named after Queen Isabella of Spain, she's been wearing that tiara as much as possible. Mommy did a report on Queen Isabella in high school, apparently. Can I have a toaster tart? Issy asks in a whiny voice. Not now, princess. Queen, Issy says. She adjusts her crown. Carlos rolls his eyes. Oh, right. Queen Isabella. Not now. Issy must sense that there's something going on that she wants to be a part of. She climbs onto Mommy's lap, and then there are the 2 of them looking at Carlos like they expect something special from him. Bernardo has had a hard year, Mommy tells him. She doesn't tell him what that means exactly, but because he has had this hard year, Carlos is to make Bernardo feel extra at home. Like letting him feed Carlos's geckos, stuff like that. And introduce him to your friends. Help him in school. Share stuff with him. That sounds super, but Carlos is stuck on letting Bernardo near his geckos. Ain't gonna happen. At least not without supervision. In the last few months, Carlos has discovered a love for animals and insects. Different kinds of animals like geckos and horned toads and albino snakes. He also realized he loves insects and their weird behaviors. Because of this, Carlos is no longer a member of the Knucklehead Club. He used to always miss turning in his homework. He did a sloppy job on his projects. He didn't always study for spelling tests. He brought toys to school to play with in his desk, and he didn't do his classwork in a timely fashion. Just a general knucklehead. Those were the words of his teacher, Miss Shelby Ortiz, actually. He'd overheard her talking to Mr. Beaumont, the other third grade teacher, in the front office. She said, "I've got a few knuckleheads in my class this year. I'm hoping they'll decide to straighten up." She didn't know Carlos was listening. He had come into the office to see if he could call his mother and tell her to bring the lunch he'd forgotten, typical knucklehead behavior, and he was standing right behind the two teachers as he waited his turn to speak to Mrs. Marker, the office lady. He'd left after that. He didn't want Miss Shelby Ortiz to know he'd heard. He went back out to the yard and sat down on the nearest bench, thinking he'd just ask a couple of kids for whatever they could spare out of their own lunches. It wasn't time to line up yet, so he'd had time to think about being a knucklehead. He didn't want to be thought of like that. It made him feel funny. What if he went through his whole life being known as a knucklehead? Besides, when he'd helped Poppy fix the back door screen that Saturday, Poppy had told him that if he wanted to be one of those things, those new things he was talking about all the time, an entomologist or a zoologist, he'd have to go to college. Could he get into a college? Could he be an entomologist, a person who studies insects, or a zoologist, one who studies animals, while being a knucklehead? He didn't think so. That really bothered him. And that is the end of chapter 1 of Don't Feed the Geckos. I have 2 geckos of my own that I will introduce you to the next time I read this story. I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed weekend. Be safe. Know that for those of you that are my students, I love you and I miss you. And for everyone else that's watching, I hope that all is well in your world and that you are safe. And until next time, bye-bye and ta-ta for now. You want to say bye, Mocha Nut? No? Mocha Nut's looking at me like you woke me up from my nap. Smooches.